Welcome everyone to our show. I'm your host, Tim Hayden. We have a great episode for you today. Our guest is the extremely talented Dave Sheridan. Dave is an actor, comedian, writer, producer, and musician. You may know him from The Devil's Rejects, Horrible Bosses, Robot Chicken, MTV's Buzzkill, Bubble Boy, and many more shows. But he's best known as Officer Doofy Gilmore in the movie Scary Movie. He is also a member of the band Van Stone. Let's welcome Dave to the show. Welcome, Dave.
Hello, Tim. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. This is
So glad
awesome.
you're here. So glad you're here.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, what do you want to know that you already didn't say? I grew up in a small little town in Delaware and wanted to be an astronaut when I was like in kindergarten. They asked you what you want to be, and my kindergarten teacher told me that I stand no chance of ever. I'm not astronaut material. This was in 1973. You don't have a chance in heck to become an astronaut. She said, but if you become an actor, you might be able to play an astronaut in a movie or TV show. And I said, then I'm going to be an actor. So and then the road was paved.
Did you do any acting in school or anything?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like since like second grade on was always doing like the school performances and writing little sketch comedy bits for talent shows and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So your teacher's the one kind of who directed you to acting, pointed you in that direction?
Yeah, she said I couldn't be anything else. I'll be a complete failure in anything else. So, and I'm not joking. That's I was the like nowadays they don't have this anymore, but they used to put the kid in the corner and have the dunce cap. I was like the last generation with the dunce cap and the rulers and having to write on the chalkboard over and over again. So that was my education. I don't know anything else about math or reading because I stayed in the corner and that was basically it. They looked
I
for
can only imagine you in high school.
high school was fun. Yeah. I didn't really do any theater in high school only because I got involved in sports and stuff. And then it started like, it was like the plays were like musicals and stuff like that. So I think I did one, like they're a great way to meet girls. That's for sure. Like high school theater is a great way for
For
girls.
sure.
I remember, sophomore year, we did have a play. I think it was Lady and the Tiger that we were touring to like the middle schools into the grade schools. So we went to those things, and there was wardrobe changes, and the girls would just change in front of me. Like take the stuff off because they were running, and I was like, I love the theater. This is awesome. So
Yes, yes. I was a thespian in high school. I get you there with the
yeah,
girls for sure.
yeah.
Uh, so do you prefer comedy or drama? You've been in both.
Yeah, well, I'm naturally a comedian, and that's what I've always been, the class clown, et cetera, et cetera. And then I studied a lot of comedy on my own, and then in college was writing my own comedy short films. I went to college primarily for filmmaking, though, to study to be a writer and a director and stuff. But I was always the projects I would always make involved me as a performer as well. Mainly not because I was like so egotistical, but in making student films, your fellow students don't show up because you're shooting them on a Saturday or a Sunday and it's a weekend and everybody's hungover and they're not showing up. So it's like, okay, I just decided I'm tired of actors not showing up. I'm gonna have to put myself in these parts. And then immediately after college, I worked for Saturday Night Live for about a year and a half. And then from there, I was thinking I could stay there because that was my dream job. And but I was a writer's assistant for the Weekend Update, and this was in 1990. It was prior to the internet. So my job was to run across town to go to AP and go to Getty Images and get all the pictures that the writers and other people and myself would see that we're going to make jokes of in the newspapers. But then we had to go and physically get the photo, the slide, have that cleared, and pay for it. You pay AP or Getty Images for that image, so the photographer gets paid. Uh, and then I would write jokes. But in that particular job, I could have moved. It would have taken years. But I could have moved up to a producer or maybe a full writing gig, but it wasn't going to put me in a performing. I was not in the performing lane. So while I was working there, I was doing stand up comedy, and the cast members there that I was friendly with were like Chris Rock and Adam Sandler and Chris Farley and David Spade and this mud crew, they called them, because they all shared an office, all that gang. Rob Schneider, which is, if you see Adam Sandler movies, is why he really has all those guys in the movies, because they all were like their own little unit at Saturday Night Live. They had their own little office, and that was the cool office to hang out in. So I hung out there too. And Chris Rock and Adam Sandler took me out to do stand up in front of them, like to open up, like 5 minutes, just to get on stage before. And then they would give me notes, and I wasn't that good at doing stand up because I was doing characters and doing like commercial parodies and like the stuff you'd see on Saturday Night Live. I wasn't a Jerry Seinfeld, like actually doing sort of like observation humor, as Dave. Right. But Chris Farley overheard us talking, and he was like, well, what is your performance? What do you do? And I said, well, I do these characters and I do these commercial parodies and sitcom little sketches and stuff like that, where I play like the characters back and forth. And he's the one that turned me on to Second City in Chicago. He said, sounds like you would be a better fit at the Second City. And I've heard of SCTV, but I never heard of I knew there was a location, but I didn't really know what that was about, like an improv theater and a live show every night and stuff like that. I had no clue. And that is uneducated of me, because you think that Saturday Night Live was like my dream job. I watched it since 1975. The first cast really sort of primarily came from Second City in Chicago. And so Chris made a phone call to the woman that ran it at that time. Her name was Joyce Sloan. And she said, okay, bring David. He's hired. So he made a phone call right in front of me. He said, you're hired, dude. Go out there. And I said, okay, well, I'm gonna take a little time off, because Saturday Night Live ends around May 16th. The end of May, maybe May 20th. And so I was like, I'll go out there. I'm gonna enjoy my summer. So that's what I told her. I said, I'll be out in August. And so I went and did a little like goofing off, because I was like 21 years old at the time. And then I showed up, and in between that time, she had a heart attack. Oh, and wow. She no longer ran the Second City. They still kept her on. They let her have her office, but she was retired. And so technically I was the last person hired by Joyce Sloan, who was there from the very beginning and started the Second City through the Compass Players at the University of Chicago. And that's with like Alan Alda, Alan Arkin, Elaine. I was
gonna say she got some big people on.
Yeah. Well, her big claim to fame was she discovered John Belushi, because she was at the time in like the early 70s, she was calling around to the various community colleges and the colleges to book the touring companies. And the program director at the student center, at, I think it was like Cook County Community College, basically said, oh yeah, we don't need you. And she's like, what do you mean? We'll come and perform our comedy. And she's like, no, we have a student here who basically goes to your shows, memorizes them, and then comes back and performs them. And he's a hit. They love him. And so she said, who's this? And so she went out and checked out and found John Belushi performing Second City material. And so it was that whole, like, if you can't beat them, join them. So she said, you want to do this and get paid? Come to Second City. And so then that's sort of how. So in one aspect of Joyce was she was always known for loving the big guys. I don't want to say fat guys, but it was the big guys. So John Candy and John Belushi and Mike Haggerty and Chris Farley was another one of her sort of like, I want you, And then I show up and they're like, you're Joyce's last signing? And I was like 116 pounds. You know, I was a skinny kid and almost and pretty much homeless at that point because I spent any of my savings partying. You know, I went out to San Diego and went to Hawaii and LA and just chilled out. And but she was so gracious. She fed me every night and brought me to her thrift store and clothed me and let me sleep in her office. You know, because she was half there, half not. And but I was her last hire, and there was some. There was a bit of like political disdain for me because the new people that came in after her were transitioning the entire Second City aspect. They were going very corporate, and this was right when that sort of Gap. What I mean by Gap is the store, the Gap store, like right
Right.
when everything, the Dockers and the, you know, everybody at Second City now looked like they worked at Blockbuster Video. They were all clean cut and with khakis and blue
Khakis.
shirt and ties and suits. And I was like in a dirty rock t-shirt, and I had long hair, and you know, I rode a skateboard in and stuff like that. And I didn't fit in there, you know. So I did do every job. You name the job in Second City, I did it. I directed, I stage managed, I drove the Torco van, I performed shows on stage, I washed the dishes, I sold T-shirts. You name it, I did every job there. And but I didn't have patience for one thing. I'll tell you this much: like I was there with Steve Carell, Steve Colbert, Amy Sedaris, Dave Pasquale, and when I saw Steve Carell for the, you know, just the first time watching him, he was there was a major difference between he was a standout because he could on stage flip something so dramatic and turn it funny and then turn it poignant and sad. He was just a brilliant actor beyond what normally is at Second City. He was an actor, but he was also there for like 6 7 years, you know. And I was
Wow.
like, I don't want to. My trajectory wasn't that. I wanted to get back to Saturday Night Live as
Right.
a performer. And I think that's the other thing that they didn't like is I came from, most of them want to go to Saturday Night Live, and I came from Saturday Night Live, and it was almost like a wait. It's almost like how like, you know, like the Mexicans are coming across the border here to live here, but they'll be really upset. It's starting to happen when the Americans are now going to Mexico in droves. It's like what's happening? Like, you know, like they're walking to Mexico and they see white people coming across the border being like, "Don't, it sucks. We got, you know, oh crap," you know. So, because I had my Saturday Night Live jacket and stuff like that. So there was a theater called the Annoyance Theater by Mick Napier. And Mick Napier was a sort of the anti-establishment that was sort of, he was fired from Second City in this sort of rebuild of the corporate culture that they wanted to build there. He went and founded his own theater called the Annoyance Theater, and they actually did like Manson Family, the musical, and they developed the Brady Bunch comedy stage show that later became the Brady Bunch movie that you saw. So, with that said, because many of the performers, the girl that played Jan and Marcia and stuff, they were from the Annoyance Theater doing it live. So he took me under his wing, and I started doing stuff at the Annoyance, and I was always like I going back to my original thing when I went to college for filmmaking. I was always still making short films. And now I was utilizing like Amy Sedaris and Mitch Rouse and Scott Adsit. I did a short film with Scott Adsit, and he went on to be on like 30 Rock. You know, I was there. Tina Fey was also at Second City with me and stuff like that. So Horatio Sands, I did a short film with him. He ended up back on Saturday Night Live and stuff. So, but MTV saw my collection of shorts, and one of the things that I was doing was going out in public in my deep characters with hidden cameras and going out and just kind of like I would call them verite, you know, guerrilla theater verite, where I would just immerse myself in a character and go get a job at a chicken processing plant. as a character working at a chicken processing plant. And one of those characters actually was a character named Chip, who later on became Doofy. Because these back then I would make these tapes, they'd be on VHS, and I would mail them out to people, and then, but then some people would get them, and then they'd find it funny, and they would make a dub of a dub of a dub. There was no YouTube. That's how you went viral. Was uh, generational, like but each dub of a VHS tape became like the tracking problems and worse and worse. So I always wondered, like, what did Miramax? I wonder what version they saw, like 16th generation, like the guy coming in going, "I found our Doofy here," like, what the heck is this? But uh, it got in the hands of MTV, my shorts, and this was in 1994, 93, 94, and they called me and said, "You want to develop a TV show? Come on out." And or they said, "You could. We want to give you a development deal for a year to develop a TV show around whatever you want to do." And I had to pitch them. I pitched them like 4 different versions of a TV show. But they also said you could work in New York or you could work in LA. And since I grew up on the East Coast and I already worked in New York City, there was something attractive about like getting paid to move out to LA, because LA is more spread out, a little bit more expensive, and I didn't have family out there, so I was like, this is my chance to go out there. The negative, I didn't know this. I was the first. I moved into a building at MTV, and I was the only employee there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they were like, no, we didn't tell you. We don't actually operate in Los Angeles. You're our first employee. I was in an empty building, like walking around going like, this is MTV. Like, MTV was on Broadway. It was Viacom, the main thing. So I'm still calling all the people in New York. So we produced the show that they did pick up of mine was called Buzzkill, and it was like a hidden camera prank show where we toured around and again played characters in public. But they're the ones that sort of in the development process needed a button. They needed a purpose. I just wanted to play characters, immersing myself into some sort of culture. Okay, I'm a rodeo clown. I'm at a rodeo, just goofing off, and it'll be funny. But they're the ones that said, oh, if it's going to be hidden cameras, we need it to be like Candid Camera. There needs to be a mark or a prank, So I didn't really want that, but formats are needed in television, and it was a good enough hook. We certainly popularized the word buzzkill because it wasn't something that was in the vernacular at the time.
Well,
Now
you kind of handed MTV a gold in their hands when you did that. I
I
mean,
did, because of what transpired after that, whereas Tom Green and then Punked and then Jackass, and
exactly.
I did the voice for Punked, the voiceover for Punked for the first 2 seasons, and then I helped cast a lot of the Jackass guys, because again, being from the East Coast, the Bam Margera and his buddies, mainly Bam. My buddy had a skateboard wheel company called Wheelie Co. Land Speed, through Tomieto, and they were looking to shoot a skateboard video with Bam, and he was about 14 or 15 years old, and he was a fan of Buzzkills, and he came out for a convention called Action Sports Convention in Long Beach, and he slept on my floor, and he played me tapes of his buddies doing prank phone calls and messing around with jousting with like shopping carts and stuff like that. And the guy that sponsored him said, "I want you to help make a skateboard video." And so I didn't shoot the skateboard stuff. I shot like the pranky kind of goofing stuff that Bam did there. But then when Spike Jonze called me, because I did a piece with Spike Jonze on not Big Brother, a Grand Royal, which was the Beastie Boys magazine. Him and I collaborated on an article, and then he called me up saying, "Hey, I'm putting together a show that's a lot like Buzzkill, but it's going to be just crazier and more skateboard." The big difference was they're going to prank themselves, is what he said. You know what I mean? Because the issue we had was with MTV Legal. A lot of the bits we did, they didn't clear because people were suing us, and we did some ones that didn't make it to air, and we were constantly getting like, "You're on double secret probation. You're on triple secret probation." And finally, there was we went to the MTV Movie Awards, and we were messing with Shaq and Jamie Lee Curtis and a bunch of people. And they said, you can mess with anyone there, but don't mess with Whitney Houston. She's our golden child. She's the highest. She's the star right now. And we were told to stay away from her. So we tried to stay away from her. We were actually running from her. But her assistant, her girlfriend, was like, come here, because the one guy, Frank, on the show looked like Isaac Mizrahi. And so we were there posing as if we were shooting a follow-up to his documentary. He did a documentary called Unzipped, and ours was called Buttoned Up. You know what I mean? And that we were doing a follow-up. And so she wanted to meet him so bad and thank him for some dresses that he gave her, but we were like running from her. And she's like, come here. And the Frank that's playing Isaac wouldn't let her touch. And it was funny. And then once we didn't mess with her, but once we encountered her, we were walking off being like, oh man, we're going to get in trouble. And next thing you know, somebody said, that's not really Isaac to Whitney. And she just blew up. And, Tom Freston and Van Toffler, the only person, there was Sumner Redstone. Sumner Redstone was the CEO chairman of Viacom. The next person down was like Tom Freston and Van Toffler. They were there. That literally they came up to us and said, stop, you're fired. And we're like, who are you guys? We're like, we own the company. We own the company. You're fired. You know what I mean? Like that was it. It was over. So when Spike called, he was like, I want to be able to do edgy stuff. What's your recommendations? I said, the big problem we ran into was the MTV legal, and because ours was an MTV production and it was the marks. And he's like, well, these guys we're going to have them mess with themselves. And I go, that's perfect way to get out of it and around it. And I said, also, you should make it your own production company. And that way you're licensing it, you're selling it to MTV already cleared. It's already, there's no legal problems. If there's any legal issue, like somebody breaks their neck, it's going to be on Spike Jonze's company. You know what I mean? The Jackass company. So that was it. And he asked me if I wanted to be on the show. He's like, you want to do the show? And it just happened to be maybe a month before he called, I got cast in Scary Movie. And I was like, or I might have already shot Scary Movie. I think I already shot Scary Movie because I did that in 1999. And I think Jackass was 2000, 2001. I'd have to go back and look at the timeline. Either way, I said, no, dude. I'm making movies now, and little did I know that Jackass, but I did say you should check out Bam and his buddies. Here you go. I gave him the tape. But that thing went on to probably the most notoriety. You know what I'm saying?
Bam kind of got
feels like a footnote, and Jackass is like everyone knows about it. So
Bam kind of got left out to dry on this last movie they did.
Yeah, he did because he wasn't acting right anymore. So
right.
it's profession. It's a profession. If you're not going to act professionally, and he has his own issues, so
of course
you deal with those.
Bam's a good guy. I've seen a lot of his interviews and stuff. He's a great guy.
I would say that the big thing is I'm glad I don't regret not doing Jackass because I would have probably been walking, with no penis right now, or
I was fixing to say, aren't you
out my ass or something, So
kind of glad that you didn't, just for your physical well-being.
Yeah, I'm very physically fit, and I do yoga now, and I can still, my son's 14 going on 15. I play lacrosse with him, and my knees are good, my elbows are good. I don't have some, neck thing where I can't move my neck anymore, because what those guys put their bodies through was, not that really wasn't. I was never about that anyway.
So while you were at SNL, was that your first opportunity of meeting Sherry O'Terry? Your co-star?
No, I met her on Scary Movie. That, like I said, 1990 and 91, Sherry O'Terry wasn't there. It was the cast was.
It was the second cast, is what I call them.
Yeah,
because to me, John Belushi, Chevy Chase, all
right.
of them were the original cast.
Mine was like Kevin Nealon, and
Phil
Jackson,
Hartman.
Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman was great, nicest guy in the world. He was awesome, very funny. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you worked with you were with a really good crew.
yeah, definitely. Oh, Michael Myers was there, Mike Myers, and I was there the year that Wayne's World broke out, and I remember what that was like in the office. Like it changed everything. It changed the way Lauren hired his talent for a while. I think he's gotten away from it now, but once he saw he had a character and it was another hit movie, kind of like the Blues Brothers were,
Mhm.
uh, then he was looking to exploit everybody's characters. Wait, who else can I make movies with out of my characters? But also, if you signed with SNL, he wanted to own your characters. You know what I mean? He wanted like if you're going to come on, I just saw you do those. If you brought characters with you, he was like, nope, you can't. I want to own them before you even get the job. You might as well sell me your characters right now. So
I guess it's kind of smart on his behalf, but it kind of hurts the actor, uh, limits them.
it does because yeah, yeah, it limits where they could take their characters after the show. Kind of keeps them stuck on the show a little bit because they can't exploit their even if the character was not ever on the show because he would make a contract if he knew you were already on stage doing like these five go-to characters that people love. If it didn't get work, most likely they would become on the show anyway because if that's what's working, he's going to put it on the show.
Right.
It's funny. It's funny. It needs to be on in front of the camera. So
So, what was it like working with the Wayans brothers?
they're amazing. Good segue because when will this post?
Um, Probably as soon as we're done.
Okay, so I have a new movie out with Marlon. It's October 14th on Netflix called The Curse of Bridge Hollow. And you can, if whoever's watching this now, you can just Google The Curse of Bridge Hollow and the trailer will be coming out. And the good news is it falls in that sort of, I've done a lot of horror, which we can get into. I do a boatload of horror now. And when they called me about this one, I'm like, yeah, because I've done Scary Movie with them. I did Haunted House 1, Haunted House 2, and this film, The Curse of Bridge Hollow, takes place on Halloween night. And it's all about the lawn decorations, all these crazy lawn decorations coming alive and just attacking the trick-or-treaters and the town, and the parents have to fight them off. It's a really great film. I'm excited about it. And it is a comedy. It's a family comedy. There's no killing and blood. It's more like Jumanji meets Night at the Museum. But what I like about it is it does fall into what I know horror fans are going to be like, well, it's not a horror movie, but it's Halloween and it's
Right.
decorations and there's characters, the killer clown characters and the girls from uh, you know the Shining. They've got like lawn ornaments that look like those girls come alive, and they're creepy, and it's great. So that's a really fun film. And on the straight horror side, we, myself and my partner Felissa Rose, we just launched an Indiegogo to help fund an independent horror movie that we're looking to do called New Fear's Eve, and it takes place on New Year's Eve, and it's this plague doctor character that's trapped a New Year's Eve party and is, killing a bunch of party goers before the year. They might not make it to the new year. You know what I mean? So, and that one's on Indiegogo. It's called New Fear's Eve. So if you go to Indiegogo and search New Fear's Eve, I don't know if you know anything about Indiegogo, but it's a great way for fans to actually interactively be involved in helping fund the movie and get lots of exclusive and limited edition items that will never be available in its true form, including the Blu-ray. Because what I find great about Indiegogo is one of the perks, they call them perks, is you're able to pre-buy. What the real big money maker is pre-selling your DVD. But in delivering that DVD, they usually burn a small amount of Blu-rays that are a first edition with first edition artwork, and the cast usually signs it. So you go on Indiegogo, you're for $50, $60, you're getting celebrities, stars signing this Blu-ray already delivered. and it's unique artwork. So because when it gets distributing, most likely they might change the name of the movie, they might change the artwork, the way the credits are. So there's a lot of, and they might make edits to the film itself in distributing. So you're getting this first edition, most likely a very unique DVD. When I discovered that, and now I'm on Indiegogo all the time, buying all sorts of. If I see a good project, I'm like, I'm buying that because I want to have like the version no one else, very little people have.
I'll
So
have to get. I'll get that link and I'll put it in the description for
I'll
everybody
send
to
it
be able
to
to
you.
find it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you
Okay.
when we're off.
So, do you? I was going to ask you about Scary Movie.
Yep.
Uh, did you get any feedback from like David Arquette?
Um, just angry looks would be the very obvious feedback. Now, yeah, him and we met a couple times since then, and we've never really spoken. He has spoken via podcasts. I would do a podcast, and somebody would say, "We just had David Arquette on," and he says he's fine with it now. It rubbed him. The thing he's most annoyed with is that people confuse his character with Doofy. You know what I mean? Like he's actually Doofy from Scary Movie, which I guess I did a good job spoofing him. But again, just to back that up, I was not making fun of David Arquette. I had a pre-existing character named Chip. Going all the way back to Second City, I made like multiple shorts. Miramax saw that and said, "That's our Doofy." And they reached out to me and they said, "We'd love you to play Doofy." I read the script. I said, "Whoa, I'm also represented as Ghostface." And there's a lot of comedy to be mined in that physical aspect of Ghostface because he does a lot of physical humor. And so I said, if I'm going to represent myself at the end of the movie for being the guy behind the mask, I want to be behind the masks then because I was really protective of me being funny. I didn't want people to go, "Oh, he was Ghostface. Well, he wasn't that funny in it. So they jumped on that because they're like, "Wait, you want to work twice as much for the same pay?" I go, "For the same pay, that's great." So I worked every day on that movie. If I wasn't Doofy, I was in the mask doing some sort of bit or something, killing somebody. So the one time I met David Arquette that I will definitely remember was he had a movie called Tripper that he directed, and it was like a premiere, and I was there with Thomas Jane and his sister Patricia. Patricia actually invited me, so I don't know if she quite understood like like how he felt or anything. Just to back it up, even before that, when I first moved to LA, I lived on Gower Street, and I lived next door to the Arquettes.
Oh,
And
cool.
way before Scary Movie. I mean, we're talking 1993, and his sister Alexa lived there still. David didn't live there, but the mom lived there, and his sister lived there, and I would see. That's how I got to know Patricia and stuff like that, and there's Roseanne Arquette. So, but that was their family home, like where they grew up in. I was just like in a shared rental, like the house was a rental next door, and I shared it with a couple dudes. So, but it was just that sort of small world thing of I go on to do a movie, and one of the bigger movies that I'm known for, the role is I'm spoofing David Arquette, who was living next door when I first moved out to LA. And so I go up to the red carpet, and they do this thing where he was greeting everybody on the red carpet and taking photos. Normally you walk the red carpet by yourself, but he was there, and he was wearing a white suit that was splattered with blood. And as I walk up, and I'll try to be the camera is David Arquette. I was like, "Hey, and he just went, I know who you are. Okay." Took the picture, and I go, "Thanks." "Hey," and he goes, "Okay," and he pushed me aside. I go, "Wow, I think he is happy," so it's fun.
Well, that's all about part of being a parody.
We might wrestle each other soon because David's into wrestling. I wrestled in high school, state champion for 2 years, and
I'll host it. I'll host it.
you'll host it.
I'll
Well,
host it.
I did talk to somebody that works with the WWE because I was doing another show and they were there, and I pitched him that I go, how David's in the wrestling, I'm in the wrestling. We should have Doofy and Dewey at a grudge match, and they were, "We're going to work on that."
Gosh.
Then I got a text from somebody, and maybe that's this person. They go, I think I might be getting that going, the Arquette wrestling thing.
Oh
Like,
my
well, because I would be Doofy and I'd have like the vacuum and use that as my closer move and stuff like that.
That's so funny. God, I hope they work that out because that would be
That'd be fun.
great.
Yeah. Now's the time to do it too, because with the sort of Scream resurgence and stuff like that. So
Right. Do you have a favorite character that you do, or they're all kind of like your children? You can't pick
yeah,
one.
they're all like I would say the two that came out of those original tapes were Doofy, aka Chip, and then Doug from Ghost World was a big one. That was like a fan favorite of these initial ones that I made. And he was in Ghost World, and the Chili Peppers
He's,
liked that so much they put me in 2 music videos, and that's when Rob
he's-
Zombie sort of saw me in those music videos, and he found me interesting enough that he interviewed me, and I got Devil's Rejects out of that, and that was sort of my first step into something other than comedies. When I loved doing it, I was it was really a remarkable fate or destiny. I don't know, like to be placed into the Devil's Rejects with such an amazing. If you look at that cast, pound for pound, it's like it's got every iconic horror actor. There's
it
no,
does.
yeah, there's nobody that is nobody in every role.
Right.
So there's everybody's a name of some sort, whether it's from sitcoms or stand-up comedy or straight horror, and he really blended such a great piece together. So
Rob Zombie has a way with movies, like the two Halloweens that he did, and uh, well, the Munsters that is fixing to come out with his wife in it.
I believe. Hold on. Ugh. I was up at 5 a.m. this morning getting my kids to school. Um, yeah, I believe the Munsters actually are on Netflix on the same weekend. They open the same weekend as The Curse of Bridge Hollow. So, but I don't think there's any way of telling if something's popular on Netflix. I don't know if they have a rating. I don't pay attention to that.
I think they still go by Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay,
I
got it.
believe Netflix isn't having too good of a year this year right now.
Yeah. They're losing subscribers and stock is down.
Yeah, I'm
And
hoping the new platforms they have will help turn that around because it's a good network. It was the first one to have a platform like that.
it was. I mean, you remember Netflix used to be you ordered your DVDs and video games via mail.
Yes.
So I somehow they were ahead of the game to start you know what it is because you ordered online and they were able to play trailers online for the movies and they naturally just built up that server space with the money they were making. They were definitely early adapters to go streaming is the future. Let's get into it because they also were that's costing them money, postage, sending out. They must have sat there looking at their what do you call that the books the
Right.
ledgers and they must have said what's costing us money. Oh my God, we're spending this much in postage and we're spending this much in physical materials. If we can eliminate those and just have everybody watching it on their computer or on their TV, you know, we can make a lot of money. And
They
that's
spend a lot of they spend a
yeah,
lot of money too.
yeah, they do. Yeah, no, this film that I did with Marlon's the biggest budget movie that Marlon and myself have ever been a part of. It was $150 million
Oh,
budget.
wow.
So
Yeah, I've
scary
seen the
movie.
advertisements.
Scary movie was like 22 million. So
Yeah, Scary Movie was more. They had to scrape their money together to get that, didn't they?
yeah, well, I mean, the Miramax put up the money, but the Weinsteins weren't really known for being generous in any other way than giving
No,
roofies and massages, back massages to women. That's the only thing they were generous about.
no
So,
comment.
well, he gave you a massage.
Could be.
um,
No, they had some really good hits. I mean,
oh my
they
God.
turned around Cobra Kai. That one huge. Since 8. That
Yeah,
was one of my favorites. I was very disappointed they canceled that, but I understand
they did.
why.
I didn't know. I've never seen the film. I did. I remember on YouTube the little short that Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka,
Zabka.
they made a short film and they put it on YouTube, and that is what really propelled this Cobra Kai thing. That short film, and this was maybe in 2000, maybe 2010, 2011. It's on YouTube. I'm sure you can find it. And
Well,
they're
just
kind of
from
playing
that,
themselves as washed up. It's different than the show. Like I think in the show, one of them has a car dealership or whatever. And because they don't play Ralph Macchio. He's not Ralph Macchio, right? He's Danny, right?
yeah,
In the short they made, they were Ralph Macchio, and they were their own actors that were just done, but they were still nemesises because they blamed themselves for, you
well,
know,
that's kind of what I like about it. They've brought in all from all the movies. They, at different times they brought in
yeah,
the original characters, and from that, I was just reading today. There's going to be a movie. They're doing a new, not Cobra
very good.
Kai, but a new Karate Kid movie. They said it wasn't going to have anything to do with the Cobra Kai series, though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully it'll be a comedy of some sort because I know they try to do other versions of that movie, and some things are just too corny now. I just don't, you know what I mean? I think if there was like, it wouldn't be karate, it would be like a kid doing MMA fighting or something like that, because that's really like the big mixed martial arts thing. And there are kids doing that now. Um, but that basically is just fighting, like any which way you can. So
And it's about a new generation too. The series
yeah,
is, it's their kids more than them.
yeah,
So you write all of your or most of your material, don't you? When it's
yeah,
not in the movie,
yeah. Even stuff that's in the movie, I tend to make it all up through my improv stuff that I learned at Second City, which is just basically just be funny and make stuff up. But the real reason, a lot of people, I'll give you a little secret here, is I have dyslexia and I probably have a reading. Um, I'm probably like a fifth grade reading level. So, and that's why that kindergarten teacher was like, "You're not gonna make nothing," Like I don't think I learned to read until fourth grade, and that was like see Sam run, see Jane run, whatever. And so I get these scripts, and I can write up a storm. I've written for studios. I love writing, and I do read. I'm just a slow reader, and my comprehension in terms of there are people like I just worked with Tommy Sizemore, who is a brilliant actor. He's run into his little troubles, which puts him into these indie movies that I'm doing now. So I didn't know what to expect, but man, he was memorizing paragraphs like that. And there are people that can just okay, I got it. Me, I don't look at I memorize what I'm trying to say. What is my character? What are the pertinent information I do need to get out? And then I kind of I say this, and this, like anybody having a conversation would put things in the right order. Pull the car into the garage. Shut the door. Okay, we can't let my mom hear me. Shut the car off. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay,
right?
now we could check the engine. You're not going to say pop the hood. Now pull it into the garage. You wouldn't pop the hood of the car before you stop the car. So that's how I memorize stuff is what is the necessity of the order that is just English that you would be saying information, and what is that information I need to say? But I usually just make it my own. I usually don't do word for word like a verbatim thing, and I always have that cleared. That's why I do so many movies with Marlon, because Marlon and those guys are like, just Dave, just be funny. You know what I mean? Like I don't go off the rails. You can't improvise your own story because you
Right.
can't edit that. But I I am, sort of get inside the head of my character, and then I know what needs to be said, um, so that the other actor has the information and can reply to it. But also, dialogue. Every stitch of dialogue should have some purpose for motivating and keeping the story going. Otherwise, you're just talking and you're wasting minutes on screen. So, dialogue is important to. We're all storytellers. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's when I read a script, there's narration that says he walks through the door, he looks at this, but you can't. That narration is never spoken, so you could try to show it, like I hear something and I go to the door and listen. That's all going to be in the action, but at the same time, you normally need to signpost it with some dialogue exposition to be like, I think there's somebody in there. You know what I mean? You need to say something,
Right.
like, so that people, so the audience is like, wait, they might have the key to the map. You know what I mean? You're right. I think they're the bad guys. You usually, a lot of things you're saying is usually you're just actually just telling the audience, these are the bad guys. I'm going to try to get his gun. You know?
And that kind of takes us into the conversation we're having before the show about how a lot of people think being a celebrity, being an actor is so much easier than normal jobs when I think about it, I think it would be a harder job because you have to know your lines, you have to know your marks, you have to know where to walk. And on top of that, you also have to know what your body is doing.
Yeah. And that's the hired actor. The hardest part of being an actor is getting the jobs. You have to have business acumen. You have to be able to network and have relationships, because a lot of the jobs you get are through, I wouldn't say they're through your friends, but you do get jobs through your friends, but you get jobs because um, people know your work, so they could see it. If you do good work on screen, that's great. But they also know, well, Dave shows up and he's not slowing my production down. He's not going to cost me money. He is going to show up, and he is going to be professional, and he's not going to not show up and cost me money and time. So a lot of that is very important, to know that it is a business, show business. So you could be the showman, but you have to be the business person at the same time. And I do notice most of the people, like even Tommy Sizemore, he went to Yale. Most of the actors, a lot of people bust on actors, like, I can't believe this guy is now political. He's getting into politics. He's doing this. A lot of these actors are extremely high IQ people, and they're very smart, and they're gifted at what they do, but they're also, you know, they're very knowledgeable. When they're playing characters, they have to be knowledgeable of, like, how a motorcycle works, or if they're playing a doctor, they usually do research on being a doctor. So it's not like they just show up and make it up, and there is research into the characters they do. But just getting the job takes a certain amount of smarts, a little street smarts, but also because it's competition. And so for me, the hardest part in this business is getting jobs and working still. That's what I'm probably most proud of, is not anything I've done on screen. Um, it's sort of, wow, I've done this for now almost 30 years, since the early 90s. I've been working consistently. So you could see if you go on IMDb, you'll see there's something almost every year. And um, it wasn't until I looked back recently going like, wow, I did it. I have a career. Because I remember hearing another actor on, like, the Tonight Show or something, and it's like, the career is the ups and the downs. When you look back, your career is the downs and the ups. When you were getting the phone, taking the phone calls, and when you were making the phone calls. So
I
everybody wants
always, I
taking the phone.
always heard that the most common word that actors hear is no.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone says no, but maybe just thank you. Thank you
Right.
is a nice way to say no. Thank you. We'll let you know. We'll let you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. And you were talking about the professional. Al Franklin is one of those that was able to go from comedy to acting to politics and did it successfully, regardless of what happened.
Yeah, until comedy got to him again.
Yes, exactly. I
See,
didn't know how to put that. I'm glad
you
you
can't
put it.
take the funny out of people. They're going to want to be funny. And so, yeah.
So, was there anybody that just like you looked up to as far as starting out when you were starting out?
Like in that kindergarten time period in second grade, I would say Peter Sellers I was a huge Peter Sellers fan. Everything he made, I watched. And I mean, it obviously started with the Pink Panther stuff. That was my sort of like portal into Peter Sellers. But then once I discovered him, I went back in the 60s and looked at all his movies and stuff like that. So I would say that pretty much is it. And I love Jack Nicholson. Like, as for in terms of an actor, doing dramatic stuff, he's a guy you just can't stop watching on the screen. So, yeah.
Anybody you dreamed to work with? that you haven't with,
Dream to work with.
or
Most
that
of
you
them are
really
now.
want to?
Most of them are old and not working. Like I would love to work with Jack Nicholson, but he's not going to do anything anytime soon.
Right.
So, uh, yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I'm beyond that now. I don't really try to manifest anything like, oh, I want to work with that person. I want to do this. Now I'm just whatever falls and falls and falls. I just say yes. Now I got to the point where like a lot of like we talked about Jackass, me saying no. So now I reached a point where I'm I'm like, I'm not going to try to control my career anymore. And I think my heyday, I'm not that I know, I hope I'm not upsetting anybody out there because I'm more upset myself, but my time is gone. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't, I had a moment. It was brief and maybe very brief. Um, but I think the reason why I've had sort of success the last 10 years is just saying yes to everything. There are a lot of people might go, wow, he's in this crappy low budget film, and that one really came out crappy. Well, if you go and look at them, I would hope you go. But Dave, I get this a lot. I see these YouTube reviews and like, oh, this movie wasn't that good, but Dave Sheridan was really great in it. And if you're going to watch it for one thing, watch his performance. He's really funny in it. And so my thing is, I just say yes, and I just want to go and sort of. It's almost like going back to my roots and just saying, I just want to be the best I can be for what I need to do, what I'm hired to do, and what I can bring to the project. So,
Well, I don't. To me, I don't think it really matters whether it's an A movie, B movie, or even a G movie. Because if you think about it, a lot of the movies out that are have such a huge following start out as a B movie. Halloween,
yep,
Hellraiser,
I agree. You never
Texas
know.
Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, you never know what's going to hit, what's not going to hit. Um, One that's really hot right now is this Terrifier franchise, Art the Clown. They've
Yes.
done Terrifier 1, Terrifier 2 is going to come out. Oddly enough, it's going to come out on October 14th. On October 14th, you've got The Munsters, The Curse of Bridge Hollow, Halloween Ends, and Terrifier 2. So in
Oh,
in about
cool.
in about 3 weeks, that's a big week on streaming. There's going to be
That's
all
not to that's not to mention Halloween comes out on Peacock and in the movie theater
yeah,
around that time.
yes,
There's a
it's
lot of them that's doing that.
yeah, Halloween Kills, yeah. So oh no, I'm sorry, I said Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends.
Halloween ends.
Yes,
Yes.
and does it really? I don't think so.
And that's what I'm saying. They kind of took that one. I love the Halloween movies. Love them.
Yeah.
I, it's confusing though. They kind of took a Marvel approach to it. This is this universe, not this one. We're going to this universe
I
now.
know it's so funny. A buddy of mine, I I could bring it up and show you. Hold on, I'm not joking because you just said Marvel Universe, right? Hold on, I know you can read this. Let's see.
Hey, you could always get land a job at Marvel. They're signing people all the time.
Yeah.
And as much as I hate to say it, people of our generation, because you and I are right at the same age.
So let's see if you can read this. It says, "Dude, it's not a Marvel comic book, right?" Uh, I don't know. Which way do I have to go there? Can you read that?
Yes.
This was yesterday, and I said, "Oh, no one's going to succeed in killing Michael Myers. They're going to need to introduce a character that is likes killing more than him. It's got to be an entity that's more evil than him. That's the only thing that can kill Michael Myers is an entity that is more evil. You know what I mean? It's like a big. There's fish, and so the only thing that can kill Jaws would be a giant killer whale. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Right.
but he is such a Michael Myers fan. He is like beyond a Halloween fan. He's now working at Universal Studios where he's playing Dr. Loomis. So that's
Oh,
him.
cool.
Yeah, that's him, the guy that was just texting. He plays Dr. Loomis and shoots Michael Myers out the window here.
Wow. Sounds like him too.
So he played me that because he got his like one of his dream jobs. I'm playing Dr. Loomis because he's everything Halloween. And I go, oh yeah. And I think what they're gonna have to do is the next phase will be like there needs to be, it's going to be introducing another killer at some point would be kind of an idea that there needs to be something because they say evil dies tonight. Well, the only way to kill that is they're going to introduce another. I was like, oh, what if it's like a Con Air thing where Haddonfield takes, 20 of the world's worst serial killers and unleashes it on the town to get Michael Myers. And he's like,
Yeah.
dude, and that's when he went, dude, it's not a Marvel comic thing. And you brought up the Marvel universe. And I said, it's exactly that. That's what they did in that second movie. It was just too much. You have so many different pieces and stuff.
Maybe we're both telling you something. Maybe you'll get a call from Marvel here soon, Dan.
Yeah. I heard that I'm going to, again, I'm going to be making a couple appearances. Maybe I can give a shout out here.
If you're up in
Canada, Victoria, Canada, I'm going up to Victoria Island where we shot Scary Movie. So I'm going to go and visit the high school that we shot at and stuff like that.
Oh,
it's called Capital City Comic Con. And I'll be myself and Lachlan Monroe from Scary Movie. We're going to be there doing the signings and stuff like that. And it's a Comic-Con, so if you're into Star Wars, Star Trek, Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles, or Doofy, I'll be there as Doofy. Come by and say hi in Victoria Island. That's this weekend, September, what is it, like the 23rd, 24th, 25. And then next weekend in Vegas, which will be October 1st, Saturday, I'll be at a Halloween store called Nightmare Toys in Las Vegas. I don't know the address, but that's on Saturday, October 1st. And then I'll be in Lexington, Kentucky at a convention called Scarefest in Lexington. And that's like October 20th or something like that. That's a ways off. But the reason I bring up Nightmare Toys is I asked him, I said, well, I'm going to have my my tongue mask. I made copies of the masks that I own. I made digital laser copies, and I'm going to be selling those and signing them. And I said, what's the hot mask this season? And he said, Halloween Ends, Michael Myers, probably from Trick or Treat Studios. And he sent me a photo of it. And it's so like distressed and beat up now, the Michael Myers. And I said to him, I said, the thing that makes the boogeyman and the shape work is the soullessness. That was that Captain Kirk mask, the white soullessness. They've added so much like steak rub and
for sure
texture to it and burns and all this, that now the mask itself, see, now Michael Myers has a personality on that surface, and it doesn't work for me. That's not what the point of this soulless evil. It's a faceless evil. It's your own fear. That's the boogeyman. There is nothing behind that mask. And that is what I liked about the first version of this last three, when Jamie Lee Curtis trapped him inside the burning basement and he looked up like a little kid. He was sad. He's like, I just wanted to play. He was like, and he looked like, this sucks. I'm going to die. But I told him, he said, yeah, we're out of those masks. It's going to be months. And I said, here's what we do. Let's go get the original mask and we'll just put him in a barbecue smoker and run over it with a car a couple times and scrape it. And then we're like, here you go, Halloween Ends mask. Because it just looks like it was left on a barbecue for a while. You know what I mean? Like Bobby Flay's Michael Myers masks. Bobby Flay's the shape rub. They put on there.
Yeah, and I imagine that William Shatner could kick himself for not getting monetary royalties from that mask.
Yeah, that's true. That. I think he doesn't. he doesn't like look fondly on it. If you bring him a Halloween 1978 mask, Michael Myers mask, I don't think he signs them. You know what I mean? I don't think he's gonna sign those.
He's a particular person. So would love to meet him and talk to him, but he used to have a farm called Bell Reef Farm here in Kentucky till he got divorced here recently. It was in Lexington.
Oh, so you're in Kentucky?
Yes, that's why I wrote down the date when you said Lexington. I'm going to try to come up there to see you.
Look it up. It's called Scarefest. We're also going to be in Louisville, December 17th, for a screening at a movie theater. I don't know what it's called. Everyone can go to, I have a TikTok at Dave Sheridan. And then at that, right now, to get news on me, you could go to New Fear's Eve official on, Tim, I'll send you all these links. But
Yes, I'll put them in your description.
New Fear's Eve official that's that Indiegogo that we're shooting, that we're raising money for. We're also shooting that in Kentucky. That's Owensboro, Kentucky.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Are you anywhere near?
I live in Owensboro.
You're gonna be in the movie, boy.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. Love to.
Well, go check it out then, Tim, because you might know these filmmakers. You might actually even work with them. I don't know.
I know they did one last year or finished it this year here. I think they were doing a series of them here.
Yeah, these are guys that made one called 13 Slaves of Christmas. They had success with that, and they brought me this New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve slasher movie, which I was like, I love the idea that there's one on Easter, there's Arbor Day, just when you thought it was safe to go back into the woods as a tree, Arbor Day. So,
Well, I've got you covered when you come to Owensboro.
Oh, that'd be great. But yeah, so you should check it out. We're actually dabbling with some sort of like Johnny Depp kind of like cameos sort of thing for the thing. Not really Johnny Depp, but like it's interesting because I know a guy that makes these silicone masks of all these celebrities that are just uncanny. But then I also got an email about a guy that does deep fake work for movies. And what he does is he deep fakes the own actor onto themselves to make them younger. So if you ever see a movie where they're younger, like but
Yes.
it is Robert De Niro, but now he looks younger. That's what this guy does. He really doesn't even need Robert De Niro to be there. He can make anyone Robert De Niro because he just puts a deep fake younger. What he has done is he's all the celebrities he creates digital models for, and then he can at whatever age, and the money for him is making the digital models 20 years younger, so that when Tom Cruise, who already does look young still, but there was one with Billy Bob Thornton and Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling called The Gray Man. That's just out. And Billy Bob Thornton had to look like he was 30 years younger or 25 years younger. And that's what they did. They just CG his own face over top of his face.
That's interesting.
In the olden days, they used to just like take tape and tie you back and put, filler in to make it, to fill the lines and stuff like that and hide everything inside another wig, But in this particular case, they just CG it now, So
that's pretty cool how they do that. I noticed that in The Mandalorian last season, they did that with Luke Skywalker. The Mandalorian takes place when he was still young.
Yeah, and and that's why they didn't show him talking that much, because the talking is harder to do. But I believe Scott Hamill, is that his name, or am I thinking like
Mark Hamill?
Mark Hamill. I think Scott Hamill's the figure skater guy.
Yes.
Use the force or do a camel spin.
Devil Axel.
Yeah. Mark Hamill, I think he did the voice though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They still kept it,
they kept it very original.
they try
Just
to
like
stay off his face though. You know what I mean?
it
When he
was
talks
usually at a
behind,
distance.
right?
You see him at a distance.
And
You were
they
speaking
did
of
that
Johnny
in
Depp.
Star Wars. They did that with in the movies. They did that with Carrie Fisher, and they did it with uh, Admiral Tarkenton or whatever his name was. That
Yes.
actor, he was the first one. He was already dead, and they, it's pretty neat what they do.
You,
Yeah. So Johnny Depp is from Owensboro, and
yes,
this
his
guy.
mother still lives here. He's an architect.
That's what I heard. Yeah. You said it's his brother,
His father.
his father, and then I think his uncle still lives there and stuff like
Yes,
that
his
too.
mom's in Florida, I think.
What I was, but in our film, it would just, we can't say it's Johnny Depp. We can't actually use his name. It's not going to be him. But I was telling the filmmakers, I go, we need to have a guy get killed, but it's got to be so quick. But just it's clearly it'll be a dead ringer for Johnny Depp, and we'll call him Johnny. Like hey Johnny, watch out, Johnny, no, he gets killed.
Well, he's one of the few actors that doesn't need to speak to be known. Just
Yep.
a glimpse is all it takes, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's
What?
great that you're in Owensboro, and go. You need to go check that Indiegogo out because
Yeah,
one,
send me that website. I
it's
will.
not just about buying DVDs. There's options to come to the VIP after party. It's just tickets. We're just selling tickets to an after party, so we can meet there. And then there's actually options to get a role with me in the movie. You know what I mean? Like that, where
Oh wow.
there's fans get to come and join me because I told you it's an office party. It's a Die Hard. Like the killer locks everybody in the office party, and
Okay.
the setup to the whole office party at New Year's, and I'm the boss, and I'm kind of a jerk. Is I waited. I thought I was doing a good thing. I waited till after the holidays to let everyone know I gotta let 50% of the workforce go. So at this New Year's Eve party, I'm going to go. I wish I had better news for the new year, but half of you people are being fired tonight, and we're going to decide who that is. But I didn't want to do it before the holidays. That'd be terrible. But
Right.
it's kind of a holiday, like yeah, but this holiday's like a party holiday, not like family holiday, So people can, if you're in the Kentucky area or you want to travel, you can actually, donate to be one of these office workers that we're all going to have lines and a lot of people are going to get killed. So it could be fun. So you should get on that, man.
Yes, definitely send me that. I will get on that
Did
today
you know anything
because
about this?
no, I
You
mean I
see,
knew they were. I knew they were filming some here, but I
right.
just thought they were like just
Uh,
little independent school type of
yeah.
things. I didn't know
But
they were.
Tim, this is what when I told you I just wait for stuff to fall in front of me and I just say yes. Once I started looking at the way the world works, then I just go, oh, okay. So I always said, and I said this since when I went to Saturday Night Live, because I thought I was going to Saturday Night Live to go work there for the rest. That was going to be it. But I really went to Saturday Night Live to meet Chris Farley so that he got me hired by Joyce Sloan. But I went to Second City and Joyce Sloan to meet the other guys that I made the films with that got me my MTV thing. But I really went to MTV not for that Buzzkill show. It turned out I went to MTV to meet Mike Judge, who liked my films, and he's the one that brought my stuff to Miramax. And we had another movie set up at Miramax. I thought I was with Mike Judge to Miramax. We were going to make a Demolition Derby movie with the character from Ghost World. But it turned out I wasn't there to make that. I was there to make Scary Movie. So, and then I made Scary Movie, and it's like what comes of something. The result of what happens is the reason why you're actually there, not your preconceived notion for actually doing something. So
I believe that. I believe that everything happens for a reason.
right.
Maybe meeting you here today for the first time is happening
Yep.
for a reason.
Yeah.
But yes, I am right here. I'm an hour away from Louisville, so I can go to either. I can go to both events actually.
Right. But and we're going to be shooting the Owensboro movie the last week in January.
Okay, yeah, I'll get on that today because I
Yep.
am interested in trying that. I mean, I'm not an actor, but I'm willing to give it a try.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think what I like to do and what I'm doing other than that's different than what other Indiegogos have done, because I've done Indiegogos where I'm not a part of it, where people come on and they're not actors and the filmmakers did not interview them or try to put them in something that would be suited to making it a lot easier, making it sort of like, hey, Tim, you just got to be yourself because I know you now and I already know your voice and this would be a funny scene. You know what I'm saying? So that would be great.
That will be great. That will be great. Well, Dave, I'm so glad you came on today. I hope you'll come back,
I will not,
dude.
but I will try and tell you that I will for a while. No, but yeah, we should get I can get you Felissa Rose too.
Let's get her.
Yeah,
Let's get her on here.
just you know when you should do her is for around November 18th. I know you're you know or like you could do it you could do it now, but the best part about November 18th is that's her 40th anniversary box office year for Sleepaway Camp.
Oh wow, yeah.
So
If
that
you
would
could help
be
me set that up, that would be
I
great.
can. She's my partner. She's my producing partner. And
Oh
she
man,
also she's really good friends with Kane. So I'll put in a good word, but I'd rather have her talk to Kane. But if you're already talking to Judy Fox though too, so at the same time.
yeah, yeah. I'm willing to
If
go from every
Kane,
aspect.
if Kane hears it from us, oh, you should do the show, then he'll tell Judy, hey, make this, hey, make this happen. What's going on? When am I going to do this?
Well, that's how I've got you, and later on, I've got Kate Linder. I'll start talking to you all individually, rather than going
Nice.
through the publicist. And that's what she did. She went to her publicist and said, "I want to do this."
Yep. Yep.
So, thank you for helping. That means
I'm
a whole
still
lot.
shocked that you're in Owensboro.
Well, when I don't know what my reaction was when you said
Yeah.
that. I can only imagine what the audience is going to see
Yeah.
because not a lot happens in. It's a beautiful city. Beautiful city. We've got a
Well,
multi-million-dollar riverfront.
it won't be when we're done. Okay. So enjoy it now because we're coming and we're going to destroy that city.
Well, I
That's
will
what we
help
do.
you.
That's what
I
we
will
do.
help you. I'll bring the sledgehammer.
Yeah. You're the sledgehammer guy. I got your character already. Tim, thank you so much. And I will check back with you prior to shooting the film. We could come back on, maybe Felissa and I together, but we should definitely do Felissa, and
For sure.
and that would be great,
Well,
man.
Dave, if you have a few minutes to hang on, I'll talk to you some more backstage. If you have a couple minutes to hang on.
Yeah, I have a little bit of time, so let's say goodbye, and then we could do that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dave, for being here. I'll be backstage in just a moment. I want to thank Dave Sheridan for being here and talking with us. You can catch Dave in the upcoming movie The Curse of Bridge Hollow and Mr. Blue Shirt, The Inspiration. You can also follow him at Twitter and his TikTok at Dave Sheridan. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great shows coming up. Everyone, please be kind to one another and have a great day.